Hi, my name is Andrea Elkin, and I am CLARB's PMO manager. And I thank you for taking some time today to learn a little bit more about our volunteer opportunities. As a nonprofit, we rely greatly on volunteers to help us get all the work done throughout the year. So definitely appreciate you wanting to learn a little bit more. So with that, let me share. These are our main volunteer opportunities that are kind of ongoing standing groups within CLARB. Our board of directors, leadership advisory council, and exam committee are standing groups, volunteer groups within CLARB. And then each year, depending on the scope of work, we have some work groups as well that help us with short-term initiatives. So I'll take some time today to kind of walk through each of these and what their roles and responsibilities are, to give you a little bit more of an understanding of where you might fit best and have interest in. So first, our board of directors. Our board, they are in charge of kind of setting the direction for the organization. So those long-term goals and objectives that we're trying to achieve. And so they use a lot of foresight and strategic thinking in their work. That's the focus of their work throughout the year. They then make sure we have the resources that we need, again, at a very high level kind of oversight role, and to get that work done and hopefully make some progress on those goals that they've set. Throughout the year, they provide oversight of not only the resources and the work, but the finances as well, again, at that oversight level. So, what that might look like throughout the year. Our board meets 4 times a year. And at the moment that is 3 times in person. Usually they meet in December, March, June, and September. They meet just before our annual meeting in September, so that they are there for the meeting as well. This is an example of what their sample agenda, meeting agenda might look like. You'll see most of their work really probably at least half of our meeting time. Each meeting is spent on development, strategy work, foresight work, depending on what time of the year it is. But you'll see that here in like leadership development and that strategic work that takes up about, like I said, at least half, if not 3/4 of our meeting time. And they are 2-day meetings for the most part, for those 4 big meetings. And throughout the year, we also have shorter kind of hour-long financial meetings as well, about 3 or 4 times a year. Another sample agenda here that you can see, and like I said, that foresight work is really important for the board to kind of be thinking ahead of what's coming up. Question our orthodoxy is the example here, and kind of keeping that top of mind as we move through the work throughout the year and planning for what's to come. Our business and our consent agenda items usually take a little bit less time throughout the year, but we do keep the board updated on those projects and ask for their input on the business agenda items, which are usually scope of work projects for the year. Consent agenda. You'll see here, these are all the things that usually fall into a consent agenda. This is a sample from a couple years ago. These are not discussed during the meeting itself. We provide a pretty extensive report that the board can read in their background materials for the meeting. If they ever have questions, they can reach out to staff or pull them out of the consent agenda during the meeting, which is not usual, but is possible. And so these are just more for the board's informational knowledge to stay up to date on organizational operations. The Leadership Advisory Council is our next standing committee of the organization. And some might, if you've worked with nonprofits before, some might call these nominating committees. This is our nominating committee. And the Leadership Advisory Council, they are made up of 6 members. The past president of the board chairs the Leadership Advisory Council, or LAC for short. And their role is really to help us find the next set of leaders for the organization. So they are recruiting or identifying potential individuals to run for the board or the LAC, and then go through a pretty extensive vetting process to help us identify who the best qualified individuals are for the organization and the work that we have ahead. And that their recommendation, the LAC's recommendation, goes to the board for final approval. So the LAC is meeting throughout the year. They meet about once a month for a couple hours, and in person a couple times a year to complete their work and also see kind of how the board functions as well. The next committee we have is exam committee, and they meet twice a year to, the biggest thing that they do is develop the licensure exam, or the LARE. So they develop questions, as in writing questions. They review how those questions performed on the exam, and if candidates had questions about those questions, and then finalize the exam that the candidates take. So they're they said they meet twice a year in person. There are 4 subsections of the exam committee, and that is in line with the 4 sections of the LARE. And they have specialized eligibility requirements for them. You can always view any of the eligibility requirements for any of these groups on our website. Has the most up-to-date information for eligibility. For exam committee, one of the things that is most important is that you're proficient in AutoCAD and are licensed in a landscape architect. So you must have gotten licensed in order to serve on this committee. Work groups, as I mentioned, these are more short-term, depending on what the scope of work is for the year is. Oftentimes you'll see some examples here of just ongoing initiatives that you'll see probably maybe not every year, but most years, or quite a few years. We usually have some sort of foresight network going on, and that is a group that helps advise our board on certain topics that they're working on. So that's somewhat ongoing. Leadership development, we usually have something each year relevant to leadership development, because that's really important to us. So that changes from year to year. At the moment, we have a new leadership development program launching, and so we've had a work group for the last few years helping us to develop that. And depending on the year, we usually have some sort of exam work group, whether that's a job task analysis. We have a global job task analysis group that is helping us more recently. And when we have exam transitions, there's various work groups that we need to help us with the additional exam work during that time. So those are some examples of work groups that we might have. Again, check our website throughout the year to see what is when we're looking for volunteers, what we might have available for that year. But we will keep that up to date online. And again, those are more short term. If you don't want to commit to like board and LAC exam committee require a couple of years of service for each of their terms. And these are more short term, whether it's a couple months or a year of service. So, I mean, depending on your strengths and what you're interested in, what would be the best fit for you really depends on what you're interested in. Again, here's a kind of an overview of all of the different opportunities. The board, they are more strategic in nature, really working at a high level to set goals and priorities for the organization, looking ahead into the future for what might be coming, so that we need to be paying attention to. At CLARB, Leadership Advisory Council is more, that is for people who have a strength in kind of really kind of vetting, kind of HR related, recruiting, interviewing, evaluating. So if that's something that you are interested in, have some experience in from your role at your company, the LAC might be a really good fit for you. Exam committee, again, you must be a landscape architect for that committee. So if you have expertise in certain areas and love to help write, that is the area that might be the committee for you. And if you're looking for something more short term, a work group might be a good solution. We have, for all of our, whether you are on a committee or the board, work group, all of our opportunities, we are always, and even us as staff, we are always looking for people to work with that encompass these core leadership criteria. So these are related to our organizational values, which were just updated last year by the board. And you'll see them here listed here, these 7 values or core or leadership competencies. We want to work with, we are a very collaborative organization. So we are always looking for people that are collaborative in nature, foster that inclusive community. So we all want to be included and welcomed in our conversations that we have, whether you're at the board level or a work group. And act with integrity is a good one. So we say we really strive to do as we say is whatever the phrase is. We not only are we saying that we have these values, I think we live them as an organization. So those are just a couple of examples. If you're interested in learning more about what those values are, we have more information on that online, and the core competencies, which are what the LAC uses to vet candidates for leadership positions. So you can find more of that online as well. Depending whether you're on the board or committee, work group, a couple of things that we expect from you and you can expect from the team. Like I said, we are a pretty collaborative group, and we expect all volunteers to kind of speak up, be able to tell your why when we're having discussions, whatever that discussion is, kind of keeping it at the right level for whatever the work is and your role within the organization. Stay up to date, informed in meetings, and once decisions are made, be a good advocate for those decisions that your group has made. What you can expect from the team is a respectful dialogue, a respectful work environment. I think I can speak from my experience at CLARB that we are very, like I said, very collaborative, respectful. Doesn't mean that we always are going to agree, but it's very good conversations and like I said, respectful discussions around topics. And so I think that's a really good trait and here at CLARB, a great community to work with. You can expect that we will provide you information in a timely manner so that you can have those good discussions when you do come together. Like I said, for the board, on most of the groups, we provide background material if you're going to need it at least a week or 2 in advance so that you have that to read up on and come prepared for meetings. So hopefully this gives you a little bit of an overview of the opportunities that we have here at CLARB. And, why volunteer? I know there's although our volunteers can probably speak better to this than I can, and you can find some of their testimonials online on the various web pages, volunteer web pages. But I highly encourage you to apply. If you are interested, reach out. I'm always happy to answer questions or connect you with someone who can better answer your questions. But I hear time and time again how awesome it is to volunteer with CLARB and be a part of this community. We hope that not only are you helping us, but we leave you a little bit better with some leadership skills or network or a larger network of people to work with. So please reach out if you want to learn more. You can always contact me. Here's my contact information. Again, I'm Andrea Elkin, CLARB's PMO manager, and I help manage our volunteer operations. So thank you for listening today.